The Lanigan Loop, that sounds like a dance, of 154 kilometres for stage 4, and then it goes Amstel Gold, Liège-Bastogne-Liège and Flanders to finish off, and it will finish a few off. These guys, though, well and truly alive.
Yeah, number 1 coming up here for the Golden Kilometre.
So the Golden Kilo starts at 23.4 kilometres out, but it looks like they may well. So there it is. There's the finish line for the first. So 3, 2 and 1 bonus seconds. They're going to get lively. Now, there are ways of handling this. Do you power all the way through? Do you continue your sprint, or do you have 3 separate sprints, Brian? What's your strategy?
Well, what we've seen in the past is they've sprinted kind of flat out for the first one. Second one, they've been a little bit more tired, and then by the end, it's who's got the strength left. But so it does look as if they might have decided to kind of share these out. So De Vries is taking the first one here.
Oh, come on, fellas. Well, this may well be a bit mugging job by Pierre Allegard. Now, if he goes through the next one, he's then got to sustain it for, what, 350 metres to take 2. Is he going to get greedy? First one has gone to Laurens de Vries. Now, he was the man who got mugged at the Primus checkpoint, which doesn't count for time. So he's just picked up 3 seconds. 2 seconds has gone to Wanty's Mark McNally. And indeed, Reinders just behind picked up the 1, so no seconds at all for Pierre Allegard, who took the Primus a little bit earlier on. He's having a toot at the moment. That looks like an air bridge too far for some. Oh, I think they may have laid it down at an angle for the helicopter.
No, they're swapping. De Vries is taking all these points. He's probably one of the best time trialling, and he's been set to the front to make the effort, so he'll get all 9 seconds. McNally and Reinders are swapping second and third between them. I don't really think Allegard is too interested in taking any bonus seconds, so they're kind of swapping it for second and third place, but the one is all going to De Vries with 9 seconds.
Brian, I'm mildly disappointed.
Oh, well, that's what happens. You put in something like that in a race, and people get smart to it. And why should they bother attacking each other? They've got 1:30.7 with just over 20 kilometres to go.
Yeah,
that was a big effort to De Vries. Now they go full gas and try and see if they can make it to the finish now.
Let's see if they do.
Op de laatste kilometer. De rotonde speciaal gebruikt voor vandaag. Venray heeft op geen enkele inspanning gegeven. Chapeau voor de lokale organisatie. Rotonde heel verder en heel veel gedaan. Speciaal voor de 55 voor de vrienden van toe. De kampioen 2013. Vooral toe in niveau. En allerlei wereld voor de weer. Hier vandaag weer. Canada van de wereld. Dat is voor die veel beter. Klaasje Einstein bedoeld op weg naar de finish. De laatste rijden, de laatste rijden, pak die voorzitter, maar die mag die maar
Everybody has passed by the start-finish line for the penultimate time. We've just heard the bell. The breakaway did not contest the golden kilo. They shared it out. And in fact, the man who took the lion's share out there was Astena's Laurens de Vries. They then had a little bit of swapping of bonuses with Mark McNally and Elmo Reinders coming through to take enhanced seconds at the two final elements of that three-phase golden kilometre. Hope I explained that well. Meanwhile, there is the none-too-small matter of the Primus checkpoint sprint. The man who didn't take bonus seconds out there was the youngster Piet Allegart, because the Primus checkpoint sprint gets beer. It's sponsored by Primus, and he's 22 years of age, and he wants a party. So I expect he may well be taking the Primus sprint. However, we are teeing ourselves up for one hell of a sprint finale with the likes of Kittel, Greipel, Damar, Viviani, Sagan, Drucker, Groenewegen, Bauhaus, Gardini, Kerkelaer, Barbier, Van Lerbeker. I could go on. It is a whole raft of sprint talent that's about to do its stuff for us, Brian.
There is, and you know, it was nice to see the breakaway communicate with each other, and obviously Mark McNally speaking a little bit of Dutch now, and you know, obviously two Belgians in the break, Dutch kind of common language and things like that, and they've kind of sorted this out, that they wouldn't they would fight for maybe the first Primus sprint, which they did. They know the ranking order, and then they kind of shared out the bonus sprints. They know by the end of the Eneco Tour it's not going to make any difference. None of them outstanding time trialists, so I very much doubt that they would be looking to take their bonuses into tomorrow and try and take the jersey. So instead of racing each other, and they could have lost 30-40 seconds saving their energy sprinting against each other, what they've decided to do was, and quite intelligently as well, that they wouldn't waste any energy on any of these sprints. They would try and race towards the finish and foil these sprinters teams, and that's why the sprinters teams have had to up their game and really start to race these guys down.
Yep, Brian Smith with the voice of strategy, and in fact was indeed the coach, of course, for us during both the Giro and the Tour de France here on your home of cycling, Eurosport. 18.4 kilometres then from home, minute and 15. They're doing a good job of hanging out there, but hanging, I think they will be fairly soon. We've got our second Primus sprint coming up in about 1,200 metres time. In fact, they've placed the barriers rather well, conveniently here. If I had to guess, I'd say that Piet Allegert is going to be going through to get that Primus sprint. Doesn't carry any bonus seconds, but it's a separate competition. The black jersey competition looks quite she-she, to be honest. But yes, we're throwing our minds further down the road here to the grand finale. Wendy Superfan, who's dialed in from Taz. Hello, Wendy. She says they'll all be working for Magnus Cort Nielsen, Ulrika Scott, that is. And you're right, Wendy, and they've got one heck of a lead-out train as well. What about Team Emirates? What can Ben Swift do today, and Marco Comfort Gardini?
Yes, Gardini, I've not seen what he's been up to, but Swift is certainly on some form. I think it's always going to be difficult against the top sprinters. You've got to remember Kittel's here, and you know, this is a big race for Quick Step Floors. You see that they're piling in with Team Dimension Data at the front of the peloton, keeping well out of trouble. But with so many good sprinters, I don't know who they're going to go for. I think this would be a sprint for Gardini today.
Here we go. Primus sprint going off, and it looks like Rome Pot, and Elmar Reinders wants the beer. But does he want it as much as the youngster Piet Allegart? And the answer is possibly no. So Piet takes it, and he'll be in a black jersey tomorrow. Job done by the youngster, 22 years of age.
Yeah, this is a competition they can win, and that's why they're sprinting for it. And but the golden kilometre, I don't think it's benefiting anybody, so they decided to keep it together. But this was a long one from the Rompot rider Reinders, but the Neo Pro from Sport Vlaanderen, Allegert, takes maximum points, and he'll be in that black jersey tomorrow.
Yep, he will. Good for him. Well, we said it's beer money as well. You get weighed and they give you your weight in beer. A minute and 4 and 2, and indeed that clock coming down, is it? No, just bouncing around that at the moment with 16.4 to go. Sprinters team's getting themselves into shape. There are 2 roundabouts only. That's about the only thing that is out there to disturb them on the approach. It's a pretty arrow straight road, more or less all the way in from about 6 k's out, Brian.
It is, you know, they've had a chance twice already to see the run in towards the finish. You can just see the blue jerseys of Quick Step, Kitto up towards the front, Mark Renshaw looking after Reinhard van Rensburg, and the South African champion has got the other South African on his wheel, thinking of the sprint finish here, and that's Ryan Gibbons.
We'll see. So Ryan Rensburg will be doing some work either for Gibbons or for Christian Baragli. I think it's Gibbons would be the choice today. What do you reckon?
In this type of sprint, I think Christian, maybe a little bit of a hillier sprint would suit him better, and he will have opportunities later in this race.
We'll see. Sky starting to muster, as you can see. This is for Eli Viviani. Their lead-outs today will be Vinyovsky, old Lukash himself, with Owen Dool and John Dibben. They're a strong pairing, Dool and Dibben, who entertain us royally when it comes to track racing as well. Well, they're here as part of the engine room, and in fact Sky's starting to make a break for space at the moment. Viviani went very, very early in London. In fact, got himself out into the centre of the road, into the wind, and faded, I think, rather too quickly for his own liking. Timing probably going to be a little bit better today, but he's got a lot of rivals out here that want to do well. This is sterling work that's being done by all of the quick men's teams, and Orica Scott, over to the right-hand side of the road, left-hand side of your picture, are amongst them, to say the least. In fact, I think they've got the best lead-out train, possibly bar Andre Greipel. Can Greipel use it today, though? That's the big question, with Jesper de Bois, Nico Mace, Marcel Ziberg, all working for him hard, but, well, quick-step floors as well. With Max Richese, superstar lead-out for Kittel. Now, if you're looking for superstar lead-outs, what about Jacopo Guarnieri for Arnaud Demar of Francis de Jure? Watch out for the Bleu, Blanc et Rouge. And in fact, there is Demar, almost immediately showing his French champion's colours to us. Hard to pick, Brian.
It is. Just got a glimpse of Ryan Mullen, the Irish champion, up towards the front doing his job for Cannondale on his birthday. After finishing third in the European time trial just last week, so nice to see him doing that. But looking at Team Sky, you just mentioned there, they've also got Danny Van Poppel, who won a stage of Poland, and I think this sprint probably suits him a little bit better. He already had the better of Sagan there, so Danny Van Poppel might be an opportunity. Maybe, look, I think Danny Van Poppel, if I was Team Sky, would look at that option. In this type of finish, maybe Viviani could be thrown in the mix. Maybe they could go with a two-pronged attack, but because I think Danny Van Poppel would be the better of the two.
48 seconds, breakaway still hold, let's not forget. These guys can't afford to ease back on the pace. We've just seen Kittel there, mouth agape, looking like he's got the usual nerves at this time. He usually delivers, though, with a burst of emotion afterwards. Did it 5 times at the Tour de France, we remind you. We're going to take our final commercial break right now on this long straight approach with 13.1 to go.
Award night with Hotels.com.
Together, and that means touches of wheels. You saw it in the Europeans. I think we may well have the same problem here today. So bike handling skills to the fore. So I'm going for Sagan, although Marcel Kittel, the bounce back after the Tour de France, Brian says it's going to be today, and I think he may well be right. No disrespect to the other amazing sprinters that we've got here, and look at it, 9.5 kilometers to go, and the approach pace is at its highest. These guys, I'm afraid, all credit to them, Brian, they've performed well today, particularly for the invitee teams, non-World Tour teams, who three of whom are represented here. They've done their job.
Yeah, they have, and that's what their sponsors will be happy with. McNally just at the front there for Wanty Group Goubert. And then you've got De Vries, the only World Tour represented in the four riders in front, and he's picked up 9 seconds today. If he can do a good time trial, who knows what can happen later in this race. Reinders and Allegaert both have done well, and you know, for the likes of Sport Vlaanderen, Romport, Wanty, this is sort of race that gives a lot of publicity for the teams.
Just under 9 kilometers to go, a couple of roundabouts to deal with. You're looking at the head of the race right now. They're holding 21 seconds, but really this is at the behest of the sprinters' teams. Interesting that the yellow, or the gold and black of Lotto Jumbo starting to get themselves into position for Dylan Groenewegen, who's on something of a high, especially after, of course, the great work he did up the Champs-Élysées to take the final stage of the Tour de France. Andre Greipel would like to make amends for that after riding through the entire race to get to the grand finale. The first time in 7 years of Grand Tour racing, a Grand Tour that he's been part of, he's failed to win a stage. So Greipel wants to reimpose himself, let's put it that way. He describes Marcel Kittel as the greatest sprinter on planet Earth at the moment. Well, let's see if that's the case today. Out to spoil the fun, Dimension Data are here towards the front. You can see they've got their aero helmets on as well, nice and smooth. Will it be at the end? Probably not, but Christian Spragley and Ryan Gibbons are their chosen sons. Dead centre in the yellow and black, working for Dylan Groenewegen, and there is that impressive Orica Scott train working for Magnus Cort Nielsen. The Aussies are today, and frankly they look ominous over on the right hand side of the road. Spearing up through the middle comes Plancart and Rick Zabel, guided, I'm sure, by Tony Martin, on a goodly approach. Well, Biermans is doing some work, and Mads Wirtz Schmidt likewise for Katusha at the moment, centre of the road. 7.7 to go, 20 seconds. It doesn't look that much at the moment. We're on a little bit of a drag at the moment, Brian.
Yeah, 20 seconds now, just inside the last 7.5 kilometres now, and the peloton have got their prey inside, so there's no real danger. They're riding just for road space. They're riding just to keep their team together. Still a way to go to start their full lead out at 7.5 kilometres, so they want to be there, and that's why they're riding pretty much across the road. But you can just see the face of Laurens de Vries here. He's given it absolute everything, as you would, been in the breakaway all day and kind of trying to hang on, but it's going to be to no avail because the sprinters are going to have their day.
Well, he's got a decent sprint on him himself in days to come, which means he's likely to keep himself up towards the 4. No idea how much effort how much his efforts today are going to be a big cost. There's the only turn, essentially. That's at 6.7, I thought it was, kilometres from home. So it's more or less straight, with a couple of straightish roundabouts to contend with. By that I mean that they'll just be going straight over them, essentially. So here comes the pack, funneled left and right hand side of the road. Right the busiest, left the freest but the longest distance. So take your pick. 15 seconds it's down to at the moment. Yeah, De Vries was actually runner-up in the Paris Tour a few years ago when he burst into our consciousness as a youngster. He was only 21 when he did that. And so, yeah, I think sort of time running out for greatness for him. But he's in the breakaway today. He's picked up bonus seconds, as you've seen, in the Golden Kilo. In fact, he's got 6 to his name for that, possibly a few more, actually, once you add them add up.
9.
There we are, 9. Thank you very much. Brian's on it. So, yeah, good for him. He'll be well placed for the time trial tomorrow, and he's not a bad time trialist either. 6.1 kilometres to go, 13 seconds then. The break looks doomed. And finally, Lotto Soudal put their nose in the wind. Marcel Seberg, Nico Mees, Jesper de Boist, now on principal duties, of course, working for André Greipel. So, can André do the job today? You can see him just maintaining his position rather nicely with the teammates racked around him. He does tend to lose them on the approach. Let's hope it doesn't do so today. Groeneweghen's gold and black man as well, waspish dead centre, hoping to sting all of those around them. J.P. Drucker for BMC in the black and red. Edward Tuns for Trek Segafredo. Arnaud Demar's gone quiet for Francis Desjeux, but they're starting to muster on the left-hand side of the road. So right as you look at it, behind that flaring light of the motorcycle, as they come into the dappled sunshine of this arboreal cover here. The trees offering up a bit of shelter, but it's going to be spotlight time for everybody. And Phil Bauhaus's men have speared up the centre here. Team Sunweb not to be outdone. And Tom Dumoulin, who's thinking about the entire race here. Well, why not? Soren Kragh Andersen, the big Dane as well, can help out Phil Bauhaus on his ambitions. Took a stage on the Dauphiné. Why not?
Yeah, exactly. He surprised a lot of people there and surprised a lot of good sprinters. But these 4 riders kind of hanging on to a very slender advantage. 5 kilometres to go, and all the teams vying for the front of the field now.
A square of trees that have been harvested here, allowing a little bit of bright sunshine as they come back into the long shadows, already long. Despite the fact that we're over the solstice, are we not? The days are starting to shorten, and indeed so today. 4.6 kilometres only, and those who I think are going to be principals at the end of today are already where they need to be. Arnaud Demar looks a bit locked in at the moment, and it's not much is going to change on the approach. It's hard to move up, Brian, when there's no road space to play with.
You can't move up, and that's why they're doing it. They're in position, but they're trying to kind of mob the road. So the only thing you can do if you're out of position is not panic. Just stay there, because I think with about 3 kilometres to go, a team will start to accelerate. When they start to accelerate, gaps open up, but then you're going to have your team to move you up. But at the moment, nobody's reacting. Everybody's kind of blocked in. You can just see Demar right in the kind of middle, about 7 rows back now. Nowhere to move until they start racing full gas in the front. Then there's not a lot you can do.
Fantastic moment there. There's a conversation going on, and Demar was basically asking Marc Serrault, what the hell are you doing? Get up there. And he put his arm out front in a very sort of Gallic way and said, look, where do you want me to go then? So they're arguing at Francis Desjeux. That doesn't bode well. Mind you, adrenaline is a strange thing, and anger can generate that. So let's see whether the Arnaud Demar and the French tricolor will come to the front. But arguments, Brian, because their lead-out train is basically in bits at the moment.
Yeah, that's what you're waiting for. You have to be in position maybe 20 kilometres out and just sit there quite patiently. But what they're hoping now, fingers crossed for François Desjeux, they start to up the tempo. You just see it starting to increase the pace. On the right hand side, Trek have started it, and the left hand side you've got the red of Lotto Soudal, and now the pace is starting to increase. It will start to kind of spearhead the front of the peloton, and when that starts to spearhead a little bit more, gaps will start to appear, and gaps that François Desjeux will have to try and come through now.
Well, they're trying their level best to move into those positions, and Francis Desjeux, it's Mathieu Ledegnaud who's first battering ram call for them. André Greipel's men in the red and white on the right hand side of your screen. On the left hand side of your screen it's Trek working for Edward Tuns, who is a decent time trialist and a good classics man. I think possibly one of the sort of outside favourites for the entire race itself. There you are, that's Battle Plan's writ early, and it's opened up dead centre, as you can see, and it's Sunweb that are going to try and come through. That's Phil Bauhaus, who's only got Mike Turnison as his lead-out man. Maybe he doesn't want any more than that. Turnison just gets to the fore and opens up some space here, and straight into that gap go Team Katusha, with Plancart and Rick Zabel not that far off the nose right now. Bora with their with that rather familiar aquamarine, if you like, with the world champion Peter Sagan just lurking. He's P3 back from that. I expect to see the rainbow jersey up towards the fore. I think when it gets rough, Peter Sagan is always an option. He's my pick for the day. Where is Marcel Kittel? He's out of position at the moment. P3, look at him, there he is, centre of your screen right now. And where are his teammates around him? He's only got 1,800 metres to go. It doesn't look like Kittel's going to have some fun today. It's going to get brutal. 1,700 metres to go then. We could do with a longer shot on the approach here. Good work as well by Cannondale, working extraordinarily well. I see that Sepp van Mark's in a good position. Should things get a bit sketchy, UAE also getting involved. 1,500 metres to go. We're nearly there, Brian.
Yeah, the easiest thing to do is to pick a side of the road and keep your train there, because everybody's trying to come through the middle. So you can just see Lotto Soudal on the left-hand side. They're starting to move over. They're trying to fight for the side of the road now through this roundabout.
There we go. Last roundabout out and done and dealt with. And that was good work, good bullying work by Lotto Soudal. They're in a great place. Bora just behind them. Orica, they'd set their stall out very, very early. It's alarm bells for everybody else. And this is a long grab, I'm afraid, by Dylan Groenewegen. He's out of position as they go under the Flamme Rouge. He's in the wrong place right now. There it is. So 900 metres, it says, as BinckBank write their name large. Somebody today is going to be on the top step, but we don't know who, with 0.8 of a kilometre, 800 metres, 700 metres right now, and we're already up to speed.
Yeah, and just see further down out of position, you can see the blue jerseys coming up, Kittel coming up very, very late. But is it going to be too late? Because so many riders, including the world champion, are in good position. Trek
Segafredo in a superb position as well. The world champion Peter Sagan is in a handy place right now. Phil Bauhaus is also there. It's got messy. There's been a little bit of elbow work down there. Can't quite see, but here we can right now. So Sagan, where's he going to go? Kittel's absolutely nowhere. In the mix here as well is Wipper and Ersburg. There they are in the green. Groenewegen's trying to find space, can't find any. Plankart's there for Team Katusha. It's an absolute mess. Here's the kink in the road, and Bauhaus picks it up and goes centre stage. Bauhaus down the line, but Sagan's next to him. Bauhaus versus Sagan. Who's going to get there first? Oh, you know what? I think it's the world champion.
I think it's a photo finish. None of them put a hand up, reacted to it. They're still looking.
Wow, Bauhaus, great finish by him. Groenewegen too late to the party. Peter Sagan, I think, got that, the world champion. That's where the camera's staying right now. What a sprint finish that turned out to be. It was brutal. Some big names found themselves out of position and out of contention.
Yeah, it was a really messy sprint in the end. Many of the top sprinters were absolutely missing in action, but here we're seeing it from the side. A very close one between the world champion and the far side, and Phil Bauhaus, the German rider for Sunweb, and it looks
cool,
like...
Oh, well,
who knows?
There was a switch over at the line. That was absolutely remarkable, Brian.
Magnus Kort and then Groenewegen.
Wow, what a finish.
It looks like Toynes is up there.
Well, we'll wait for official confirmation. By the look of that, it could be either of them. Certainly the fastest finisher was Phil Bauhaus. But let's have a look from above right now. Peter Sagan, left-hand side of your screen at the moment, still just not fully committing himself until now. It was Jesper de Boyce that found himself off and alone up front. Here goes Sagan with Bauhaus on his case. Bauhaus goes centre, crown of the road. Sagan on the left-hand side. It's between those two, and at the line, I think Bauhaus on the lunge, you're right.
Bauhaus.
Nobody wanted to claim it, and Sagan thought about offering up a handshake there, and then thought thought better of it. Camera's with him, but he's shaking the head. I think it's Bauhaus.
Yeah, but it's all in the lunge. We've seen this before. We've seen this in a tour. He got it. It's all in the lunge.
Well, you know, I should have stuck with my instincts, Brian. Why do I listen to you all the time? Peter Sagan, then, it is that takes this stage. This is a man who is out there and he's got a bit of grit about him at the moment, hasn't he, Brian?
That was so close. It was doubtful how many photo finishes we've seen these days, but it's all in the lunge. We could see that even in the tour. It's where you throw the bike.
Gosh, that was a big
obviously
lad.
Bauhaus just got it fractionally wrong.
I don't know where the big fella finished, but
He was well out of it. He was out of position. I think he sat up. You can see him in the run-in sitting up, and he was in about 20th position.
What a day, what a finish. Bauhaus just pipped out the line. Peter Sagan went long and handsome. World champion, riding like one. Good start.
Yeah, nice start. Messy sprint though, all about being patient and in the right place.
Peter Sagan takes it ahead of Phil Bauhaus, Magnus Cort Nielsen. Dylan Groenewegen got up for 4th place ahead of Danny van Poppel, Rick Zabel. Greipel, of all the principals we named, best of them, I guess you might say, no disrespect to Groenewegen. Greipel finishing 9th. Damar out of position, started arguing with his own team, seen that before. And indeed, Quick-Step Floors did so much work, but Marcel Kittel found himself isolated again. Super drama at the end here in our run into Venray. Tomorrow we're at Voorburg. 9 kilometres of time trialling to be taken on, and we'll see. Marcel Kittel found himself in an uncomfortable place there, Brian, but he wasn't alone amongst the big names.
Yeah, he was just. I was just tracking him there. He's in about 30th position at that point. But when they're going full gas at the front, very difficult. You're sprinting now, and you still got to sprint at the end. You see some of the blue jerseys looking behind. Where are you? See Peter Sagan nipping round the Lotto rider in that roundabout, just chopping in front of him to get onto his lead-out train. Decides to let another Lotto rider in front of him. Decides to sit up and let his teammates, his lead-out man, try and go for it in a sneaky one. But I think it was Cannondale. It was wise to this one with Orica Scott, and Sagan just started his sprint now. He was tracked all the way by Bauhaus. Unfortunately for the Lotto rider, couldn't hang on here, but Bauhaus done a very good sprint here. And looking from the head on, when he threw his bike at the line, you could think, coming. He was slightly in front, but it's that throw that Sagan's done so many times that won it by how much? One thousandths. 1,000ths of a second.
You gotta love it. Thanks for your company. What a day. What a finish.